This is the Chevy Equinox launching off the same median. Really? Oh, that's lovely. Wow, look at that. Look how many people have hit this before. So the city just covers it up with a big black cover so you don't see it. And you end up hitting it. That's what happened to me. Because the road curves out and then it curves back in. And instead of marking it with a sign or anything, they just covered it with concrete and disguised it. So Caroline hit, I'm guaranteeing this is my oil pan right here. Look at the chunk I took out of the ground. And I got airborne. And it looks like I landed right here. Is this from my car? Yeah, I mean, I bet it is. There's a good spot right there. And then I just drove along it because I was doing probably 35 miles an hour. Look at that. Look at all the oil. There's where the oil started spilling out. This is where I ended up stopping for a minute. Right in the middle. And then I ended up driving over here and pulling into this driveway, which ironically, there you go. And that is where we parked. You just follow the oil trail. It gets a lot lighter, obviously. And then we're parked over here. I have all the doors open because I'm airing it out because even though the SRS light was on, the airbag's still deployed. Burned my arms and a little bit of my wrist. And then here comes the damage. So we have a dent on the fender. The front bumper has some pieces missing. I picked up those pieces, and then there's the there's the oil pan. Big hole in the oil pan. Truck is here. Alright, she's on. That's the camera right there in the corner. That's the road shot. It's just a black chunk of asphalt covering the curb, so you can't see it. The ground right here, you can see where the median used to start. So if you were to hit it, it would just push your car off towards the curb. And they ground it down. And then they put this big chunk of asphalt in its spot. And I'll give you a little view of how big. You look here, not a lot of people have hit this side, but you come across and there's just marks. Check this out. This is from that Chevy Equinox on the video. They hit right here. And then this is my car. The curb right there, that took out the oil pan. And then this is where the control arm hit. It looks like this is where my wheel landed. You got oil spill on the ground right now. Of course there's an ambulance coming. So I was searching for any pieces of my oil pan, and I think I've come across one. Yeah, that's definitely my oil pan. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep this piece. So Caroline made it home. We're gonna go over damages right now, see what we can see, and hopefully it's not too bad. Visually, the first piece of damage you'll see here is the fender, and I'm pretty certain that it was from the wheel jumping up in the suspension. Basically bottoming out this front wheel and putting its force into the fender. You can see it also detached the inner wheel well right here from the fender. I can't believe that the tire didn't pop on impact. So that's really awesome that I don't have to deal with a flat tire. At the moment, this hood doesn't align right, and we'll dig into that in a little bit, see if it's because the fender is pushed up against the hood or if it's something further in towards the center. We have here the fog light pushed up into its housing. These pieces right here on the front were off the vehicle. The passenger side one was hanging. The driver's side one was actually in the parking lot behind the car about 10 feet. And they just popped right back on. They were simple fixes. The front bumper got cracked a little further than before, and you can see the scrape line here of where it actually dug into the concrete, the asphalt. The front bumper was damaged in the past, so I'm not too upset at this, and noting that the front bumper is mostly here, it's not bad. I'm not gonna cry over it. You can actually see a little bit of damage here on the front bumper as well, where it also dug in. I've already taken measures to protecting the engine. I took a rag and a trash bag and I shoved it up in the oil pan so that there's no moisture, debris, or any other corrosive material that can get up in there and harm the engine, just in case the engine is salvageable by just replacing the oil pan. So obviously you see here the first impact point being the oil pan, but if you come over here, you can see the second impact point being the control arm mount. This may or may not affect the alignment. It is bent over a little bit, and we will be lifting up the wheel and seeing if that is affected at all. It does look like there's a little bit of contact right here on the underbody of the core support. I just found this now. Again, not something too terrible. It doesn't look deep, but it is a contact point, and that could affect how the hood alignment is at this moment. So the next spot of damage would be the C-pillar on the driver's side. You can see this crease right here. Again, this is not a very big piece of damage, but it is noticeable. There's a little dimple right here, and then a crease that goes over. The actual trim for the window snapped in a few places. So you can see up here in the corner, that's a main mount spot, and then down here on the back side, you can see these pieces just lying in here. And so we'll have to get the window trim replaced. And another one I just noticed today is the chrome trim above the rear right passenger door. You have about a less than an inch gap between the two chrome pieces that connect the front chrome piece to the rear chrome piece. And then I just noticed this recently, that the radiator clip, of which where the radiator is usually mounted right here, that is tweaked and no longer straight, which I figured would happen. You hold the radiator straight and it's not terrible. Probably one of the most important pieces of damage would be in this area right here, and this is why the roller doesn't sit in the center anymore. It sits off to the side of the roller because this is pushed over just minorly. And you go ahead and lift the seal here and you'll be able to see where the metal has kinked a little. And this would tell me that the front left corner of the vehicle has been risen up about an inch to 2 inch, not too much. And so the vehicle will need to go to a frame shop and have them pull the front end back down. Funny part is that I was looking to do an oil change the day before the accident. Really glad at this point I didn't, because that would have been a waste of $40. But I found a new method to draining your oil fast, in case you were looking at a faster way to drain your oil. Not recommended by a lot of people, but this engine is wonderful. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it runs. For almost 300,000 miles, it runs like a dream. I've heard these engines, the M30, B35, run a lot louder with a lot more tick, and I'm just really surprised at how well this one's held up. And I really hope to hear it run again smoothly. Now that we've gone around and noted the damage that is visible from the outside of the vehicle, let's go ahead and check out what's visible inside the vehicle. The window was busted before the accident. It was a totally different incident and was not caused by the current accident. First thing we see is the airbag went off, which is a total shocker to me personally, because the SRS light has been on ever since I bought the vehicle, so I honestly didn't think the airbag would have worked. Gladly that I didn't hit my face on the airbag or anything. I just had a slight burn on my right forearm. And then you have this this dust particle from the airbag going off. And other than that, you can see here the speaker cover actually came off of its mount from the impact because it flew up and it's not really connected to the dashboard. And it eventually made its way over here to the passenger side one and then onto the floor. The passenger side cover came up as well, and I just haven't touched it since. So now what we're going to do is we're going to lift up the front left corner of the vehicle, and we're going to actually look at the wheel and see if there's any further damage to the control arms, the suspension. So when we get the tire in the air, we can shake it back and forth and see if there's any movement. Take the wheel off and look further at the suspension where the impact happened and see if there's anything we can find there damage-wise. Cool. Yeah. That is solid. That's good news. Alright, so looking at the wheel on the inside, there is a contact point right here where it could have made contact with the strut. There is such little space between the strut and the rim when it's on the vehicle, you can't get a finger between the rim and the strut. And that's another reason why the tow truck driver may have told me that the strut was bent, because he couldn't get the straps around the tire in order to hold it in place. Again, everything looks good so far. So this isn't bad, it's not bent, it's just got a little bit of friction rub. So as you can see, the wheel bolts turned out just fine. There's no bends, no cracks, no nothing. So that's really good. I'm glad to see that. Looking at the wheel spacer itself, it looks to also be in really good condition. Yeah, there's really nothing wrong with that. And then we come to the actual main event here. I do need a rotor replacement soon. I already knew that. You can look at the strut. This is probably where it made its main contact during the accident, but then again, it's touched the strut before off of normal everyday driving. You can't hear it, you can't feel it. It's just something that happens because the wheels are from a different BMW. They're from a 3 Series, not a 5 Series. So the offset is completely different, and you have to use this spacer in order to fit that wheel on here in the first place. Right here, I might need to go to the other side of the vehicle and compare for this bulging, but again, that could be stock. But I'm not seeing a lot of damage to the actual wheel well, nor am I seeing any contact points. Right here, it's still currently leaking oil, and that crack runs all the way down to where the bag is inserted into the oil pan. I'm telling you, oil pan took a beating. It actually took the concrete curb versus the control arm here, which took asphalt. And you can see on right here at this point, it's actually flattened and a little bit of contact with the control arm itself. Bent it over just a little bit. This control arm just mounts to the bottom of the strut and holds it to the rest of the subframe. And if you look at the other control arm, you can see how not flat it is. Sway bar. And it does look like when the strut bottomed out, it rolled the sway bar down enough to contact the ground back on landing. So there you have it. Caroline's damage in a nutshell. Go ahead and leave a comment on what you think, maybe some suggestions. Maybe you saw something I didn't see. I'm probably just going to order an oil pan stock. Obviously, we want to make sure the engine runs properly before I do anything else to the vehicle. Thanks for watching. See ya.